What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:51 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe. But before I get into that, I just want to update you on some very serious news coming out of Australia. So, Australia has reported their first human case of H5N1 bird flu. Now, the H5N1 bird flu has a very high mortality rate. I'm hearing as high as even 50% mortality. So, this is very, very serious. We'll have to wait and see if it continues to spread. But the first human case of H5N1 bird flu reported in Australia. Okay. Now, remember, right around New Year's, the UN held a meeting and they discussed disease X. So maybe this is disease X, guys. I don't know. We also have some major breaking news coming out of Russia. So apparently, Russia has launched an anti satellite military spacecraft into orbit on May the 16th, according to the Pentagon. On May the 16th, Russia launched what the U.S. Defense Department says is another counter satellite space based weapon into low Earth orbit. The new Russian satellite is presently tracking near several U.S. military satellites. This follows additional launches by the Russian armed forces in 2019 and 2022, which were also believed to have deployed similar weapons that could be utilized against U.S. or NATO intelligence satellites if a war were to break out. A dead giveaway that the launch was actually a weapons system was the giant Z emblazoned on the top of the rocket. That letter or symbol is presently in use by the Russian armed forces fighting in Ukraine. Ambassador Robert Wood, U.S. Alternative Representative for Special Political Affairs in the United Nations, made the allegation during a May 20 debate in the UN Security Council on a Russian resolution proposing a ban on the placement of weapons of any kind into space. Just last week, on May 16th, Russia launched a satellite into low Earth orbit that the U.S. assesses is likely a counter space weapon, presumably capable of attacking other satellites in low Earth orbit, he said. Russia deployed this new counter space weapon into the same orbit as a U.S. government satellite. Wow, guys. Okay, so this could be the reason why we saw a flurry of emergency action messages last week on one of the nights last week. And I personally believe that this is a nuclear armed satellite. Okay, this counter satellite weapon is essentially a satellite in and of itself, and it's armed with some kind of explosives that would detonate and destroy all the satellites nearby it. Now, I believe it has nuclear warheads on it, either for the purpose of destroying other satellites, or they could use it to generate an EMP, or they could drop the warheads from space, which would give our military and the president literally a 5-minute warning time, which is not enough time to scramble bombers into the air and to launch a counterattack. Okay. So this could be for a surprise nuclear strike on the United States and not so much as a counter satellite weapon. And the U.S. deployed 4 B 52 strategic nuclear bombers to the UK for exercises with NATO allies and regional partners. Okay, so 4 B 52s being moved to the UK. Now, what you're looking at here is some new footage coming out of Russia, and this is close to the border of Ukraine near the Sumy region of Ukraine, which is northern Ukraine. And you can see a trainload of military hardware heading towards the border of Ukraine. Now, what's interesting is they're using that new marking now, the rune of Gungnir. I talked about this like 2 weeks ago, and there were trolls that were arguing with me about it, saying that, oh, that's not a new marking, that's just a temporary marking to mark that it's disabled or something like that. No, this is their new marking, And this means that they're going to start a new campaign, a fresh campaign, because they're using a new symbol. Now, the rune of Gungnir, if you look it up, it represents Odin's spear. Okay, so Odin's spear is supposed to represent like invincibility and immortality and strength. And what's interesting is there's a lot of these bridge trucks here. So these trucks are used to cross water obstacles, rivers, and streams. And what's funny is on these bridge trucks, someone spray painted homo on the side of them. You can see right there, homo. And then on the other one, homo also on that one. A popular antivirus company has just been fined $16 million because its privacy software was secretly being used to sell user data. For years, this antivirus software company harvested user information without their consent while tricking the users into thinking they were using privacy software. That's why I've been protecting my data with Virtual Shield 1. Thanks to Virtual Shield 1, my data is monitored and protected from data breaches, advertisers, tech giants, and cyber criminals. This advanced identity theft protection suite provides 24/7 peace of mind and security. It's easy to use, and if you use the link in the description below this video, which is virtualshield.com/deals/NYPrepper, you can save over 50% and get a 60-day risk-free trial. This includes unlimited bandwidth, anonymous browsing, and fast internet speeds across all of your devices. So use the link in the description below this video, which is virtualshield.com/deals/NYPrepper, to get a huge discount and a 60-day risk-free trial on Virtual Shield 1 identity theft protection. Homo on that one as well, but a lot of bridge trucks. Okay, so very concerning, and all these trucks and tanks covered in the rune of Gungnir. That's their new marking. You see it right there. That's the diamond with the X over it. Okay, and then here you have some amphibious vehicles here with these cages welded to protect these vehicles from drones. And you have some howitzers here. You can see the howitzers, and there's some Russian writing there. I don't know if anybody can translate that. It's like AATAN, and the N is like backwards. So I don't know if anybody knows Cyrillic. I don't know Cyrillic, but if you do, let me know what that means. Here we have like a T-72, it looks like, and more trucks. Okay, so Russia is getting ready to move into the Sumy region. Here we have some Russian MRAPs, mine-resistant vehicles. And so Sumy is right next to Kharkiv, and I believe that they're going to pour in from the Sumy direction, and they're going to try to push south to Poltava to reach the Dnieper River, and then potentially cut off Kharkiv from the rest of Ukraine and try to reach the Dnieper River from the other occupied territories as well. So get prepared, guys. Things are about to get really intense in Ukraine. And we did have a flurry of emergency action messages earlier this afternoon. There were about 15 of them in a short time period, about an hour to an hour and a half, and then they quieted down, and they were being broadcasted from somewhere in the Pacific or the Western US. So I'm going to continue to monitor that, and if they pick up, I'll go live. And what you're looking at here is a U.S. Air Force B-52 nuclear bomber that was looping over southern Louisiana. Okay, so our nuclear forces are still on high alert. And here we have a Cobra Ball looping over North Dakota. The Cobra Balls are planes that can detect the launch of ballistic missiles. And we have an interesting situation brewing in the Baltic region. So earlier today, there was a website of the Russian government showing a new law that the Russian parliament was going to vote on. And this new law would redraw Russia's maritime borders in the Baltic Sea. Now, shortly after this was discovered, the Russian government pulled down that website, but there are some screenshots of it I'll show you guys. And we had the new Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, comment about this on Twitter earlier this morning. He said, the Finnish authorities are investigating information in the Russian media about the definition of maritime zones in the Gulf of Finland. Russia has not been in contact with Finland in this matter. Finland acts as always calmly and based on facts. Okay, so they're talking about the Gulf of Finland, and that's in between Finland and Estonia. It's just like a little piece of water, and that's how Russia accesses the Baltic Sea from St. Petersburg. So looks like Russia wants to redraw some of their maritime borders. This is huge news. And here's a screenshot of that proposed law on the Russian government website here. Okay, if any of you guys want to use Google Lens to translate this, you can take a screenshot and then translate it and let me know what it says. And we had the U.S. House of Representatives Intelligence Committee send a letter to Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, urging Lloyd Austin to allow Ukraine to use American weapons to strike strategic targets within Russian territory under certain circumstances, to train more F-16 pilots, and to increase air defenses for Ukraine. So you can see all the different congressmen that signed this letter: Michael Turner, Jim Himes, Gerald Connolly, Darren LaHood, Linda Sanchez, Neil Dunn, Rick Larson, Austin Scott, Jason Crow, French Hill, and Brendan Boyle. Okay, these are the members of the House Intelligence Committee. Okay, so authorizing the use of U.S. provided weapons to strike strategic targets within Russian territory under certain circumstances. Our Ukrainian allies are requesting permission to use certain weapons provided by the U.S. to conduct operations on strategic targets inside Russian and Russian-controlled territories. According to a May 14th report by Politico, the Biden administration's current policy is handcuffing Ukraine's ability to push back on Russian forces near Kharkiv with U.S. origin weapons. Ukrainian officials have watched for weeks as Russian troops have attacked Ukrainian communities from Russian territory with impunity. Ukrainians have been unable to defend themselves due to the Biden administration's current policy. It is essential the Biden administration allows Ukraine's military leaders an ability to conduct a full spectrum of operations necessary to respond to Russia's unprovoked attack on their sovereign land. Okay, so the Biden administration has basically tied Ukraine's arms behind their back, and they're asking Ukraine to fight Russia with their arms tied behind their back. Okay, I mean, just think about boxing Mike Tyson with your arms tied behind your back. That's what's happening right now. Okay, because the Biden administration is not allowing Ukraine to strike certain targets that would speed up the end of the war. And they want more training of F-16 pilots, so, and more air defenses. So this could potentially cause an escalation. And I want to just show you guys the latest situation on the front line in Ukraine. So not much of a change in the last 24 hours according to this particular map, but I do believe that the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian president are minimizing how serious the situation is here to prevent panic. Remember, right before the war started, the president of Ukraine did not tell his people anything about what was happening until a week before Russia invaded, because he didn't want people to leave the country. So that could be what's happening now. They're trying to keep things quiet and minimize the seriousness of the situation. They're trying to downplay it and say that, oh, this is just to fix Ukrainian forces here. This is just a minor incursion, and the Russians are not prepared. Just the usual BS, that the Russians don't have food, they don't have shoes, They don't have equipment. They're charging the front lines with, old weapons, and it's just a meat wave attack. Well, listen, those meat wave attacks have worked, okay? And Russia is winning in this war, okay? Russia is winning, all right? So this is a very, very serious situation, guys. We have to keep an eye on it. And someone posted this video to social media earlier this week showing a massive amount of tanks rolling through the Czech Republic. This was sometime in the spring of this year. Check that out, guys. And the British Defense Minister accused China of providing or preparing to provide Russia with lethal aid for use in its war against Ukraine. Grant Shapps told a conference in London that U.S. and British defense intelligence had evidence that lethal aid is now or will be flowing from China to Russia and into Ukraine. I think it is a significant development. We should be concerned about that because in the earlier days of this war, China would like to present itself as a moderating influence on Putin, he added. Okay, so maybe that's why Putin visited China, because they signed some kind of deal where China's going to provide Russia with weapons. Okay, so this is going to be a huge challenge now for NATO and the US, because before it was just NATO and the US versus Russia, okay, and maybe North Korea, right? Because Russia was getting some artillery from North Korea. Now it looks like China's going to be mass producing missiles and drones and artillery and ammunition of all kinds and all kinds of stuff. And we know that China can easily do that because they have billions of people, they have tons of sweatshops, they can easily spin up hundreds and hundreds of factories and start cranking out millions and millions of shells. Okay, so this is very, very serious, guys. And I do believe this is going to push NATO into a corner, and NATO may look to do something to balance out the situation, which could mean allowing Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory with NATO weapons. Okay, because the US and NATO are not going to be able to compete with China when it comes to mass producing ammunition. There's just no way. Okay. China has so many people, they can mobilize them. So NATO is going to look for other ways to balance out the situation, and that could lead to some kind of escalation. And remember what I reported on yesterday, how the Russian government said that Putin's meeting in China with Xi Jinping would change the future of the world. Well, I'm sure this is part of it. Okay. I'm sure China providing weapons to Russia is part of that. Okay. But I do believe that Russia is planning an attack on Lithuania to connect Kaliningrad to Belarus, so they have a land bridge to Kaliningrad. And China's foreign ministry announced on Wednesday the imposition of countermeasures on 12 U.S. military entities and 10 executives in response to U.S. illegal and unilateral sanctions against Chinese entities and arms sales to Taiwan. These will include freezing their assets in the country and denying visas and entry into China. The decision was prompted by the U.S.'s disregard of China's objective and fair position on the Ukraine crisis. The U.S. indiscriminately imposing illegal unilateral sanctions on a number of Chinese entities on the grounds of so-called Russia-related factors. It's engaging in unilateral bullying and economic coercion, and its persistence in selling arms to China's Taiwan region. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. China imposing sanctions now on 12 U.S. military entities and executives, 10 executives. Okay, so looks like the diplomacy between the U.S. and China is now deteriorating, especially after news of China sending weapons to Russia and signing some kind of deal with Putin that China would send weapons to Russia. So this is not a good sign at all. And I'm very concerned that China could try to attack Taiwan soon. And China will continue strengthening their strategic partnership with Iran, according to the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He told this to the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister for Economic Diplomacy, Mahdi Safari. So things are really spiraling out of control. And last night we had more heavy reconnaissance over Poland. You can see this Italian AWACS plane patrolling the Polish-Russian border and the Polish-Belarusian border. So get prepared, guys. Things are spiraling out of control very quickly. I think in the coming days and weeks, we're going to see some massive escalations. So I'm going to be covering everything live when it does go down. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I do go live and when I post these updates. And also follow me on Telegram and follow me on Twitter. I'm going to use those to post my updates from here to there. So this way you'll never miss an update. And also, I may post some extra information there as well. But I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. I may go live. I'm not sure yet. Sorry I didn't post an update last night. I had something important to deal with. So I didn't have a chance to actually post an update, but I will be posting later on. So until later on, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you have to use the link preparewith.nyprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. And this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life with over 2,000 calories per day, all packed inside of 6 rugged water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. The normal price is $800. If you use the link, you'll only pay $600 for 3 months of food with free shipping. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video.